but also through the actual practice of yoga, which the word yoga means how the tiny conscious soul connects with the big soul. That's yoga means connection. It doesn't mean exercise or insight. It means the process how the tiny soul connects with a great soul. That's actually yoga. So through yoga, and here yoga actually means bhakti yoga, that the tiny soul completely devotes himself to the great soul. This is the actual yoga. All other kinds of yogas are simply stepping stones or paths that lead to this complete, where the tiny soul completely gives himself to the great soul. Through this kind of yoga, where the tiny soul completely surrenders to the great soul, then the tiny soul becomes completely conscious and aware and experiences the presence of the super soul. And that's actually, great self-less souls are experiencing the super soul at every second, every millisecond, because he's there. Krishna, God, is right here. He is he's in everyone's heart, actually. He's sitting, like this verse is, Prabhupada quotes the verse that says, he's sitting in the same tree. The body is like a tree, and there are two birds in this tree. There's a soul, there's a super soul sitting next to each other. The tiny soul is trying to enjoy the fruits of the tree, in other words, trying to taste the pleasures that come through the body. And some of them are sweet and some are bitter, and actually most are bitter. And then, but there's sometimes a tiny sweet in between. But the soul thinks, oh, but the next fruit will be sweet, I'm sure. Oh, no, it wasn't. But then I'll be lucky next time. And as one gets older, one gets more frustrated because, pleasure in the body becomes less and less. So that's a tiny soul. The super soul is not trying to enjoy the body. He's simply observing his little friend, the super soul, and giving him guidance, constantly trying to guide him to act for his own personal interest. For the super soul is there trying to help the soul act for the soul's own interest. And the soul sometimes listens, sometimes doesn't listen. But the self-realized soul is always conscious of the guidance from the super soul. Constantly there's come inspiration, intelligence, also forgetfulness. Actually, the super soul is within us and is constantly guiding us and controlling us. And the self-realized soul is actually experiencing that. The self-realized soul does not believe in God. He's beyond that stage. He is experiences his presence and exchanging with him from minute or from second to second. And that's the actual stage. It's a stage that can be, in the beginning, can be experienced like glimpse-wise. It's not beyond anyone's. If one opens himself to it, one will get glimpses of experiences like that. And as one progresses on the path of yoga, bhakti yoga, then it will become more and more steady, until at one point it will just be, one is constantly together with the super soul, experiencing him all the time. Then that's the actual point of self-realization, to be situated, beyond just theoretical understanding, be situated in this, with a deep relationship with the super soul. And then one also will have an incredible deep relationship with everyone else, because everyone else is also parts of the Supreme, or they are also tiny souls who are guided by the Supreme and very dear to the Supreme. One actually develops real affection and love for God in this way. One finds out one has such an incredible, close, intimate friend, always there, always simply, he's selfless towards. He simply acts for the, for the benefit of the soul. So one discovers, I have such an intimate and complete close friend. So one starts really developing appreciation and love for him. And then when one has love for him, then one of course also loves what he loves, and he loves everyone. So one develops love for everyone else. So it's actually an amazing path. This ultimately leads to the greatest realization and the greatest satisfaction that is achievable. And it's even a path that is not difficult. It's simply a path of service and surrender and dedication to the cause of the Supreme, of Krishna. And simply by using whatever one has, one's abilities, one's intelligence, one's words, whatever one has, one's time. And as soon as one starts the process, immediately it's rewarding, and it just becomes, if one steadily continues and doesn't, of course it takes serious practice, it's not a cheap thing. The price is, one is sincere. But if one is sincere and sincerely practicing, then all the realizations will come automatically. One will become a fully self-realized soul, God-realized soul. One will become completely perfected. One can become a perfect soul. Doesn't mean one becomes all-pervading. One is still tiny. It's perfect. Perfect tiny soul. Yeah, you had a question.
Yeah, does the soul carry memories or experiences?
That's a good question. It does, but also it's dependent on the super soul, because you see that sometimes you do remember, or there's something you learned, but you cannot really remember it, and you cannot get it. What was it? What was somehow it's there, but you cannot. And then even no matter how hard you try, you simply drench in your brain, squeeze in your brain, doesn't come out. Okay, then you kind of, and then after a few minutes, it pops, then it was there. So there is a kind of very intimate relationship between super soul and soul, and the super soul is controlling the memory of the individual soul. I'm not really able to answer the question precisely where, because of course we do have our individual memory, because you have a lot of memories. I don't have your memories. If it was all gone, I would, I could remember what you could remember, but I have my memories. You have no idea what I remember, and they're based on what I have experienced and what I've learned. So yes, I do have a memory. You have a memory, but then again, I'm not in control of it.
Because it's a quite practical question. Is if the soul is eternal, like it had a lot of lives, it is really interesting. If it's possible, just to try to meditate in some kind of the state and to try to remember the previous experiences.
It is.
And learn from that, because like if you were a shipbuilder, so maybe you after meditation, you know the knowledge of building the ships.
Yeah.
So.
Complete self-realized soul doesn't forget. He remembers many lifetimes, and we have examples of that. But and you can also, there are ways actually how to revive memories of past lifetimes, and you're probably aware of that also. There are regression techniques, hypnosis techniques. Some children are born with memory of past lifetimes. It's something like 1 out of each 500 children actually remember his previous lifetimes and talks about it. I don't know if you're aware of any children who spoke. You met any children who talks about? But they're there. Huh?
Maybe heard.
You heard about it. You read about it, maybe. Yeah. So there's, that's documented. There are children who can, when they're 2 to 3 years old, just when they start becoming somewhat, wake up and aware. They can talk about previous lifetime, maybe, yeah, quite vivid in many cases. Of course, they're fighting a battle with the surroundings because they, the new family they don't believe it, and I think that the children are just babbling. And there are regression techniques, hypnosis techniques, where you actually can be brought, and memories from past lives can be brought up to. But if it actually would be beneficial, yeah, it would be beneficial, but we don't want it. Actually, that's actually the point, because we are we want to be something that we are not, and therefore we have to be kept in somewhat of an illusion, thinking that this life is the beginning, and memories of past lifetime would destroy that illusion, and God doesn't, Krishna doesn't, since he fulfills our desires, and since this is it's a somewhat sick desire that we have. We want to be independent of Him, and actually we want to be God. Somehow we have this, we're so tiny, but we want to be big, and it's an impossible desire. But so the only possibility for having that desire fulfilled is in an illusion, and God doesn't destroy that illusion as long as we have that desire. But the price is we have to lose our memory from of who we are, including what we did in previous lifetimes. But if you were a shipbuilder in the previous lifetime, I can guarantee in this lifetime you will also be a very good shipbuilder. That ability you will continue, you will carry with you. Generally, abilities, attractions, you actually carry from lifetime to lifetime. It's they're so deep. They are, that's why, for example, you have someone like Mozart. How can a Mozart play master piano and write symphonies when he's 4 years old? That's an ability from a previous lifetime. And so abilities and like that, interest, they continue very often.
So in other words, you just getting a body with the memory of the previous person, like if he was gifted.
Yeah.
So it's like a gift if you could just play from 4 years old,
It's a gift.
Because like other child, 4 years old, doesn't have nothing. So maybe it's a gift from God then.
Yeah.
Like maybe it was on purpose that it had some kind of skills,
Yeah. No, but all skills are gifts from God. And many of them actually. Mozart is an extreme example, but many of us, I think probably all of us, we have skills that we are, again, reawakening at one point in this lifetime. And all skills are gifts from God. But the actual gift from God, because you might say actually, but was it really a gift, a blessing from God that Mozart was such a brilliant musician? It didn't solve his real problems in life. He became old, he died, and where is he now? So to solve the real problem is to break out of, repeated birth and death, not to get bodies again, go back to the spiritual world or dimension we came from. So these abilities we're getting, they're gifts of God, but actually they're just our karma. We kind of deserve it, and then God gives, okay, you deserve it, you get it. And like me, I don't have karma to be a Mozart or even a Vedanga player. I don't have karma for that. That's a Vedanga. Somehow I don't have karma for music because I don't deserve it, so I'm not getting it. And so these gifts we're getting, they're not God's real blessings as such, but of course they're given by God. Because we're helpless on our own. All ability comes from God. Okay? If there are more questions afterwards, we will at 6 o'clock. Now we will have kirtan and artik, singing and dancing in front of the altar. 5 o'clock we're serving our prasadam feast, and at 6 o'clock there are questions and answers over in the other building on on the first floor. So if you want to discuss more, we can talk about 6 minutes later.